Welcome back to my life as a traveling speech language pathologist. Today, I would like to talk to you about the pros and cons of travel therapy. Um, Everybody hears travel therapy and they're like, yo, that must be so cool. You get to change jobs often, go here, there, the other. You must love it. And I do. I absolutely love my job. But just like anything in life, nothing is all good. Everything has its downsides and its cons. So today I want to go over the good and the bad, the ugly of travel speech therapy. So, first, talk about the pros. I could give you guys a million things I love about travel therapy. Today, I'm just going to go over the major points that I really, really love. So, one of the first pros I have of travel therapy is not being tied down to just one job or one setting. So, I guess the best thing about that for me is if there is something I don't like about the job, it is so much more bearable because I know I'm not going to stay there long. So, for example, if you have a boss that micromanages, if there's a coworker that you just cannot stand, if there is student or clientele that you just don't really jive with, it's really easy for me to kind of just push through and not think about that too much because I'm going to be gone in the next month, in a couple of weeks. So it's easy for me to kind of just let the bad things of a job roll off my shoulders and focus on the positive because that's not my permanent job. I'm not going to be there forever. Also, not being tied down to one setting. As I've stated in a previous video, as speech therapists, we have a pretty wide scope of practice. So being able to go from skilled nursing facility to schools, honestly, that saved my mental health. I started my travel therapy February of 2020, and I went to a skilled nursing facility. So working in healthcare a month before COVID hit us here in the U.S. And as it really ramped up, it just got very stressful for me. It took a toll on me physically and mentally. And had I not been able to switch and move settings and go to the school system, I'd probably be very, very unhappy right now. And then if the schools, after this contract, I decide that, I'm not really feeling it, this isn't for me, I can try home health next. I could try going to a hospital setting. And if I don't like that, I could go back to the schools or back to skilled nursing. And I also feel like it really keeps me sharp as a clinician to practice these multiple different areas within our scope of practice. So I'm very, very grateful to be able to, every few months, if I decide, I can switch jobs almost. So the next pro of travel therapy is you get to move to different cities or states every couple of months, you know? So for those who like to travel, you're really killing two birds with one stone because you're making money and you're able to go places that you want to go. Like I said in my first video, you might not always get the exact city you want, but I can guarantee almost 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to find a job in the state you want. So, I mean, it's awesome. You get to choose where you go, you get to move, you get to see new stuff, and for me, it really satisfies my wanderlust heart. I love to travel, I love to see new things, and it's an amazing, amazing way to see this country of ours. The next pro, the pay. So, travel therapy, you do make more money than you would just working a typical 9 to 5, especially for the school systems. The school systems, as all speech therapists know, don't get as paid as much as those that work in healthcare. But as a traveler, being contracted, I can say that when I went from my job in a skilled nursing facility to my job in the school system, my pay was just about the same. So you do get paid more than you would if you're a full-time, just regular employee. And also, you get paid weekly. I love that personally. For individuals who might not be so good with budgeting, oh, it's wonderful, because if you get paid Friday and you blow your whole entire check by Tuesday, hey, it's okay, because you don't have to wait another week and some change. You're going to get paid every single Friday. Now, I would suggest that you do be good with budgeting, because when I start talking about some of the cons of this job, the money doesn't always flow the way you might hope it would. So we'll talk about that later. So the next pro that I have is the job market is wide open. I checked my company's website, and this is just for solely the company I work for. They had over 560 jobs for speech therapists. So honestly, I'm never worried about being unemployed or not finding a job. It might not necessarily always be in the place I want to go, but I can guarantee that I'm never going to be without a job. Also, just for speech therapists in general, our job outlook, or the growth rate, is like 22%. And I want to say that average growth rate of a job is like 4 or 5%. So there are way more jobs available than there are speech therapists. So it's just a good career to get in, because you have that career security that a lot of people strive for. So now that I've talked about some of the pros, let's move on to some of the cons and the negative things about travel therapy. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a little more personal than professional, but I found it hard to make real connections with people as a traveler. So, of course, the easiest people to connect with would be the people that I work with. You know, I see them on a daily basis. But for me personally, I do not like to mix professional life with personal life. I'm not going to be the one who just volunteers to go out with coworkers to the bar on the weekends. That's not me, mainly because I would hate to go out to the bar and have one too many drinks, and the next thing you know, my coworkers on Monday are like, yo, you should have seen Steph at the bar last night. She got lit. Erin had to take her home. She couldn't drive. It was crazy. I never thought I'd see her like that. And then next thing you know, boss coming up to you, oh, I heard about your weekend last. I was like, I don't have time for that. I don't. So I personally prefer not to make my coworkers the people that I connect with on a personal level. Of course, I talk to them. I like to keep most of what we talk about work, and keep my personal life personal. Now, when it comes to building like romantic connections with people and dating, I have found it challenging. My first contract when I was in Myrtle Beach, I was dating this guy, and it was going pretty well. And then he asked me to stay in South Carolina, and I was like, are you kidding me? No, this is my first travel contract. I'm going to keep traveling. And then we had a very honest and transparent conversation, and he was like, you know, I like you, but I can't give this my all. I can't really put too much into dating you when I know you're going to leave in the next month or two. And I respect the honesty, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who feel like that, and it makes dating and trying to build relationships very challenging. It also gets lonely if I'm far away from my family, and because I started traveling at the beginning of the pandemic or right before the pandemic began, um, it was hard to just meet people in general, platonic or romantic. And then I was probably about 6 hours away from home, so I couldn't go home often, and it got pretty lonely. So that's a major con to travel therapy. Whew. This next con, something I knew that could happen, but didn't internalize it until it happened to me, firsthand experience, and that is contracts being canceled. So, back in probably March, I interviewed for a summer contract, short, 4 weeks, 20 hours. It was going to be part time, but I was very excited because it was in Baltimore, and I am a pescatarian. The main reason I did that is so I could go up there and eat the seafood, or they have great seafood in Baltimore. So I was really excited just to explore, like I said, only working 20 hours to go to DC, check out the surrounding areas, and see what the town has to offer. So I would say probably the middle of June, my agent called me and he was like, I don't know how to say this, but Baltimore said that they're going to cancel your contract. They reached out to the speech therapist that they have in the district already, and they said they had enough people to cover the summer school, summer camp, whatever they were calling it, and they wouldn't need you. And for me, I wasn't too hurt about the money situation because, like I said, it was only 20 hours a week. I was not, after paying housing, I was not going to profit much at all. But just missing out on those experiences, that kind of busted my bubble. But also, for someone who is depending on that money for that contract, it could put you in a financial bind if you don't budget properly and if you don't have a savings. Me personally, I'm very good at budgeting. I have a nice savings. So when I'm not working, I don't have really any financial worries. I also don't have much debt. Besides my student loans, I have no debt. So I'm not too stressed financially. I'm not stressed at all financially about losing this contract. But for those who might not be good at budgeting, that could really, really hurt them financially. But the positive thing is, the job market is wide open. Like I said, there are 560 jobs for speech therapists in my company currently. So if I was pressed to get another contract ASAP because I need the money, I'm sure my agent could find me something by the end of the week. So the pros kind of balance out the cons sometimes, which is a blessing. But still, also contracts getting canceled early. That happened to me too when I was on my first contract in Myrtle Beach. So as a traveler, no one is looking to keep a traveler on permanently. Everyone is looking to secure full-time therapists because one, you ain't got to pay them as much, but two, you don't have to worry about hiring someone every couple of months. So while you're working, at least like in healthcare, skilled nursing, they're still going to have that job posted. They're still going to be actively interviewing people because they want to solidify someone permanently. So what happened when I was in Myrtle Beach, and I was down to my last 3 weeks of the job, they have to give you in healthcare a 2-week notice before they cancel your contract, the same way you have to give them a 2-week notice if you wanted to end your contract. And my director of rehab came to me and was like, Stephanie, we found someone full-time, and unfortunately, we won't be able to keep both of you on because we just really don't have the caseload for that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you your 2 weeks, and 2 weeks from today, we're going to end your contract. Now, it was only ending my contract a week early. Like I said, this was June of 2020, so COVID was hot and heavy at this time. I was tired of working in healthcare. So for me, it worked out very well. But once again, if someone was banking on that last week of money to be able to do X, Y, Z, to go on this vacation, to pay this bill, it might put them in more of a financial strain. So just know, those are two very real aspects of travel therapy that are beyond your control as a clinician. Woo, this next one. My company does not provide insurance in between contracts if you go 28 days without having a contract. The last con I have on my list is, ironically enough, one of the pros that I said, moving often. Now, being able to move often and travel and see different parts of the country, woo! Oh, shit. Okay. So, being able to move often and see different parts of the country is awesome, okay? I love it, but the physical act of moving can be daunting at times. In 2020, I moved 4 times. And the last time I moved, I was going to a contract where I was going to be staying there for 9 months. So I was so relieved because I'm like, goodness gracious, thank God I don't have to pack up all my stuff and move again. It gets tiring. It gets old, okay? I try to be a minimalist and minimalize the items I have. And when I go to new contracts, if there's something I have not used in the last contract, I get rid of it because I cannot be just dragging a whole bunch of stuff all across the country with me. That's just not reasonable. So yeah, that's the major pros and cons that I have for you guys on travel therapy. I can honestly say the pros outweigh the cons. I absolutely love my life as a traveler. It works for me. Who else can say? I'm just decided to take a month off from my job and travel. Do whatever it is I feel like doing. In this month off, I left Macon, came to my parents' house in the metro Atlanta area. The very next day, I was gone to Mississippi. Then I went to Louisiana. Then me and my mom went up to New York for a little bit. Then I spent a couple of weeks in Nashville. Now I'm back at my parents in the metro Atlanta area. And I mean, if I wanted to keep going, because there's a month before my next contract starts, I could still go to Baltimore and just check out the scene if that's what I said wanted to do. A couple of friends and family had asked me to go to Florida with them in the month of July. So the opportunities, honestly, to travel outside of my contracts are plentiful, and I absolutely love it. So that is all I have for you guys today. Any questions, comments, topics you want me to discuss, please drop a comment down below and I will answer them and get to it as fast as I can. Once again, thank you guys for joining me on this journey. Y'all be blessed.